think it's a science. So. The main parts that we're going to be covering are the tools needed, strategies that we need to put forth, and the review of the notes. For tools, you're going to need paper, pen or pencil, a 3-ring binder or notebook, and most importantly, you're going to need your brain. You can't do anything with notes unless you have some sort of understanding. And to have some sort of understanding, you're going to need an active brain, one who asks questions, one who constantly is trying to understand and gain more knowledge through what you're writing down. Strategies, we're going to start with shorthand writing, page setups, notes in class, and note from text. Shorthand writing gives the note taker speed, organizes the notes, and it helps you study. It's a lot easier to write down notes more effectively if you have sort of shortcuts, depending on what kind of class you're in. There's 5 main ways to streamline your notes. You eliminate the vowels. It actually works. Seen it in the newspaper. Use only word beginnings. Rep for representative, especially for ESP for especially, and so on and so forth. No periods after abbreviations. It just gets confusing after a while because you'll be constantly reading through all your notes and there will be a period everywhere and you have no idea where you stopped and where you have to begin again. Use standard symbols like a W/ for with, at for @ symbol for an @, so on and so forth. And depending on what class you're in, you can create your own symbols, whichever ones are easier for you to understand or what you want to put on your notes. That way it's sort of special to you. Now there's 3 main page setups that I'll cover since there's so many I couldn't possibly cover them all. Outlining, mind mapping, and the Cornell format. Outlining is, of course, what we've all used ever since probably 1st and 2nd grade. You have the first level, which is the main idea of whatever you're outlining. You have the 2nd level, which records key points of the entire subject. And then from the 3rd level on, you have sub-levels of just main facts and principles that explain the level above it. Mind mapping. Now this is a little bit skewed and a little bit crazy. I can't barely follow it, but the whole point is that every single bit of the idea is put out onto the paper and it's connected to the main idea. Now here's something that's a little bit more organized and what you might be able to understand more as far as mind mapping. There's more room, the boxes are a little bit more aligned, and you'll be able to read more of what's in it. Mind mapping was created by Tony Buzan, and it was developed to use both the sign mind and the design mind, both artistic and mathematical things into one. It was supposed to be a huge key to help students study, and it was supposed to coincide with the Cornell format. And this is the ultimate note formatting. It has been approved by many universities. It started at Cornell University, developed by Walker Polk. The whole point is that while the teacher is speaking, you would write the entire notes and all your scribbles and scratches all in the main part of the pane. And then after the class is done, you would summarize it in the Q column. And after you would summarize it in the Q column, you would actually use the Q column to ask yourself questions, help study for whatever test you're doing. And then toward the end, so you understand what the page is, after you're done using it for a bit, you would write a summary so that you can just look at it and be like, oh, that's what I studied. Now here's some successful strategies along with, taking notes. You've got to know your teacher. Each and every person is different, no matter how small. And you just cannot get to know your teacher enough. If you know your teacher, you'll be able to ace the class immediately because you'll know exactly what they want. Complete all class assignments. They're there for a reason. We may not like it, but they're there for a reason. Review your notes continually. The whole point of notes is so that you'll be able to understand the class more, so review them. Have questions at the ready. You will always have a lot of stuff to cover in any sort of class, so you might as well get ready with some sort of questions and answers because you want to understand the class you're taking. Prepare the required materials, because if you come unprepared, who's really going to take you seriously? Learn selective listening. If someone, like an instructor of any sort, just goes off on talking about their personal life, you might want to tune them out if you're more concerned with what's actually at hand. And whenever they get back on the subject, start listening again. Understand the big picture. The whole point of the class is, once again, to understand, to gain more knowledge. If you're there just mindlessly writing things down, what are you learning? And don't forget to tailor your note-taking to the class format. There's the lecture, seminar, and hands-on classes. Depending on what type of class you're in is depending on what you need to write down. And here's 6 steps to listen better in class, and it's been proven because it actually works. If you sit in the front of the class, you'll not only get your teacher's attention, but you will probably end up hearing more and understanding more because you're right there, right next to them. Avoid distracting classmates, the gum chewer, the doodler, the note passer, the overly obnoxious one who just loves to tell everybody stories about her video games. And don't forget to sit up straight. It may not be necessarily comfortable, but the whole point is that you'll stay awake and understand what's going on because you'll be able to see everything. Listen for verbal clues. Verbal clues include the repeating of the same point over and over again by a teacher or instructor, pausing for a little bit so that heads can rise knowing that they should be writing something, slowing down so people can get the point, or speaking more loudly, or actually saying, this is important, write it down. These words can be followed by first of all, in conclusion, or the following, as a result of, and so on and so forth. If you look for those key phrases, you should know when to take notes and when not to. You want to also look for nonverbal clues. If the teacher just starts looking out the window and mindly just saying stuff out loud so as they're lecturing, obviously it's not going to be on the test. Where if they're standing there writing everything down, those are going to be on the test. And then notes from text. You really got to understand that the whole point of a textbook is to read it. Read first, then write stuff down. Change the way you read. Read more. Try to reread what you don't understand. Ask yourselves questions as you read. It'll work out for the better. Look for clues in the text, key principles, phrases. Don't forget your highlighter. Your highlighter is your best friend when you're looking through stuff. It pops right out of the page. Don't understand? Read it again. It's all you have to do is lose a little time. And do not write incomplete sentences with notes. It just gets too confusing because you'll end up writing a whole novel over again. Write down just key principles. Try to apply the shorthand system that I talked about earlier. Copy down the questions in any text because they're there for a reason, just like all the class assignments are there for a reason. Summarize your notes as much as possible. You don't want to make more trouble than it's actually worth. And when you find primary sources, note them, use them, whatever. Just don't forget to cite your work. I can't tell you enough. Copyright laws are just horrible to contend with. So do yourselves a favor, cite your work. Okay. Study helps. You can draw a concept tree which helps you understand key points and phrases in a book. Create a timeline if you're confused about